Translator, Neen Tales. Editor, Fish Creek. A downpour of heavenly blossoms rained from the firmament, wondrous beyond mortal measure. Within the riot of petals, a peerless beauty descended upon flower steps as though treading on clouds. The petals drifted, withered, and fell, and when one fluttered before Chinmu, it chimed with a delicate tink as it died. He reached out, yet the petal dissolved like a snowflake upon his palm. Formed of vital chi? Chinmu stood stunned for a long while at the sight of that beauty. His heart, without warning, began to thunder wildly in his chest. Having learned painting and calligraphy from Death, he knew Death possessed brushwork unrivaled, able to paint all the world's loveliness. Yet even with Death's divine skill, he feared Death would still find it hard to capture the woman's visage and singular bearing. As he gazed, Chinmu at last understood what it meant to be incomparably beautiful. An ancient poetic essay, Death had taught him surfaced from some hidden corner of his mind. Her actions were as dim as the moon mantled in filmy clouds, and as restless as snow whirled by the driving wind. She struck a balance between plump and frail. The tall and short of her were justly proportioned. Her shoulders were shaped as if by carving, and waist narrow, as though bound by white cords. Around her slim throat and curving neck, the pale flesh was open to view. There were no scented ointments overlaying it, and no coat of leaden powder applied. With her cloud-banked coiffure rising steeply and long eyebrows delicately arched, her red lips shed their light abroad, her white teeth gleaming within, her bright eyes skillful at glancing, and her dimples were round off the base of the cheek. Her rare form was wonderfully enchanting, her manner quiet, her pose demure. With her gentle heart and broad mind, she was graceful with every word she spoke. Her robe was strange with an appearance that was seldom seen. Her face and figure lived up to her paintings. Wrapped in the soft rustle of silken garments, she decked herself with flowery earrings of jasper and jade. Gold and jade hairpins adorned her head, and strings of bright pearls made her body shine. She walked with slippers fashioned for distant wandering, with airy trains of the mist like gauze in tow. It seemed only this ancient poetic essay could describe her visage and bearing. This woman was too beautiful to be wrought by mortal hands. No brush could ever paint such beauty, much less seize her magnificent style. Was she truly Granny Sai? Could it be Granny slew a beautiful woman and wore her skin? Chinmu shuddered uncontrollably as that dire thought struck. "Hey, you there, herding cows!" Suddenly, a young girl's voice came from behind. Chinmu turned to look, yet saw no one. Lifting his head, he discovered a girl seated upon the temple eaves. Her dress draped to her ankles, revealing flawless white skin, exquisite as carved jade. Her feet nearly dangled above Chinmu's head, her toes playfully curling and uncurling as she swung her legs. The girl's eyes curved into crescent moons as she said, "Coward, come up. You can see farther and clearer from here." Chinmu sprang onto the temple eaves and sat beside her. A familiar fragrance wafted from the girl's body, and he was bewildered. 2 lovely locks of hair had been combed neatly to rest upon her cheeks, shaping her face like a sunflower seed. Her bright eyes and white teeth became crescent moons whenever she smiled. She then giggled. "Am I chubby?" Chinmu nodded and answered with honest bluntness, "The hair combed at the sides of your face is to make your face look thinner. However, if you part the hair, you'll still look chubby." The girl kicked him resentfully with her leg. Her shoes had been removed and placed beside her. Barefoot, she grumbled angrily, "My chubby face is born that way. What can I do about it?" They both let their legs dangle beneath the temple eaves, while Chinmu propped himself up with his hands. Chinmu remained puzzled, for he kept feeling the girl beside him looked familiar. The fragrance she gave off was even more familiar. Before them stood the city lord's manor. Its gates suddenly yawned open as 100 people strode out in grand fashion. Each carried an aura of formidable power. Their presence was imposing and uncommon, bearing a might that set them apart from the ordinary. They were the outstanding divine arts practitioners of Border Dragon City, figures of great prestige. The man at their head was tall and sturdy. He had tiger's eyes and a bear's waist. He moved like a dragon, his steps like a tiger. A grandeur emanated from him that made hearts palpitate, and his mustache flared explosively to either side. He might not be handsome, yet he was brimming with manly might. Behind him appeared the image of a demon god, an 8-armed deity brandishing 8 kinds of weapons. It should have been a vital chi apparition carrying an extraordinary bearing. Ever since Cult Mistress stole the Devil Bible, great educational heavenly devil scriptures, from the Heavenly Devil cult and escaped the pursuit of the cult's sacred elders and sacred patriarch, you entered the great ruins and vanished without a trace. Border Dragon City Lord laughed heartily. I worried over Mistress's safety day and night, never expecting Mistress would still be safe and sound. This truly puts my heart at ease. I suppose Mistress must have studied the great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures thoroughly during 40 years of secluded cultivation. Now that you have emerged from seclusion, you needn't fear the Heavenly Devil cult's elders or their patriarch, am I right? Heavenly Devil cult Mistress chatted cheerfully with the Border Dragon City Lord as if they were old friends. Border Dragon City Lord did not dare draw too close and invited, Mistress, by coincidence, my humble home is presently holding a banquet to entertain my honored guests. Hearing of Mistress's arrival, we are honored by your presence. Yet I also cannot keep my guests waiting too long. Why not have Mistress enter my humble home and we can all sit and converse? The beautiful woman laughed softly. That suits me fine. I am also curious to see who City Lord's honorable guests are. Pardon me for disturbing. Mistress must be joking. Please, come in. That is the Border Dragon City Lord's 8-fold heavenly god technique. The girl whispered beside Chinmu. It said Border Dragon City Lord, Fu Yundi, has cultivated to the life and death realm. He has successfully broken through the wall of the life and death divine treasure and is one of the rare experts of the Great Ruins. Chinmu looked toward Border Dragon City Lord Fu Yundi. Fu Yundi's 8-fold heavenly god technique was indeed extraordinary. If he executed it, the heavenly god would assuredly have 8 faces, able to see all things around him, and also able to strike at all enemies encircling him. Chinmu exclaimed in admiration, "It truly is a powerful technique." The girl asked with interest, "You, coward, are also very powerful. What technique do you cultivate?" "Overlord Body 3 Elixir Technique." Chinmu said, "My name is Chinmu. What is yours?" The girl curled hair behind her ear and smiled. "My name is Yuxiu." Chinmu asked, "Yuxiu as in elegant and graceful?" The girl was astonished. "How do you know my surname is Ling?" "Ling Yuxiu? That's a fine name." Chinmu praised, then continued, "If your face were a little thinner, you would match your name perfectly." Ling Yuxiu gave him another resentful kick, put on her shoes, and leaped down. "I'm ignoring you." She landed on the ground, took 2 steps, then turned back, bewildered. "Why aren't you following me?" Chinmu was confused. "Didn't you say you were ignoring me? Why must I follow you?" "Petty." Ling Yuxiu beckoned him over and giggled. "I have a way to enter the City Lord's manor. Right now it's very bustling inside. Let's go play. Don't you want to see what the Great Ruins' big shots are doing and talking about?" Chinmu's heart stirred slightly. He jumped down from the temple eaves and quickly caught up, asking curiously, "How do you enter the City Lord's manor?" "We enter, of course, with righteousness and honor." Ling Yuxiu led him to the City Lord's manor gate. 4 divine arts practitioners guarded the entrance, yet they said nothing as the 2 walked past, allowing them into the manor. Chinmu was astonished and whispered, "Sister, are you Border Dragon City Lord's daughter?" "He wishes," Ling Yuxiu spat. "My dad has a bigger influence than him. I can enter and leave this Border Dragon City Lord's manor whenever I want. Up ahead is the river suppression floor, where Fu Yundi is hosting his honored guests." Chinmu looked ahead. First he saw a vast lake, its ripples a clear bluish sheen. Pearls as large as wicker baskets had been placed in the water, emitting a gentle glow that danced upon the lake's surface. Countless female servants carried lanterns and stood along the shore without moving, illuminating the entire lake within the manor. River suppression floor was built against the mountain beside the goose-shaped lake. Seen from afar, the building's interior dazzled, giving the feeling of sudden overnight riches. The Border Dragon City Lord wished more than anything to paste gold leaves across all of River Suppression Floor, indulging shamelessly in luxury. Within River Suppression Floor, several female dancers moved gracefully at the room center, their sleeves fluttering with their fragrant skirts. With dance accompanied by music and drum beats, it was a most beautiful sight. In the middle of the lake stood a flat square stage 300 yards wide. Below it, an exceedingly thick pillar supported the platform. In the sky floated a few gloomy lanterns that lit the entire stage as bright as day. Explosive sounds rang from the stage as two youths were sparring. Chinmu halted, astonishment on his face. Both youths were powerful, their abilities extraordinary. One youth was the one from the street, the same who had been dragged by a middle-aged man with 100 dragon coins to fight another youth in the arena. He should possess a white tiger spirit body, and his white tiger vital chi had reached a golden copper state. Two hues covered his body, radiant gold and dark brown ancient copper. When his opponent struck his body, it produced resonant clangs like a copper Buddha in motion. Sparks even flew in a shower. To use White Tiger Vital Chi to temper the body to such a degree was extremely brilliant. No wonder he dared enter the City Lord's manor to fight in the arena. His opponent was not old either, about Chinmu's age. Only 14 or 15, his attacks were ruthless in the extreme. He wielded 8 swords, each hand holding one sword. They were not his true hands, but his vital chi. He used vital chi to control 8 swords at once. Eightfold Heavenly God Technique? Chinmu asked softly. The Eightfold Heavenly God Technique this youth executed differed from the Eightfold Heavenly God Technique executed by Border Dragon City Lord Fu Yundi. Fu Yundi had already cultivated a full apparition, an Eightfold Heavenly God standing behind him. This youth's Eightfold Heavenly God Technique had not reached that realm, yet his circulation method complemented Fu Yundi's method. Ling Yushu replied, "He is Fu Yundi's son, called Tingyue. Come to think of it, he's also a pitiful person. He had no mother since young and was raised single-handedly by Fu Yundi." Chi, 2 of Fu Tingyue's swords stabbed into his opponent's eyes. The 2 swords then spun with savage force, grinding into those eyes. His opponent's White Tiger Vital Chi was exceedingly strong, and he had tempered his body like steel. Yet he had not cultivated his eyes. Blinded, he let out a wretched scream. Fu Tingyue did not kill him at once, nor did he stop there. Instead, he slowly cut up the blinded youth, severing his fingers one by one, his face alight with excitement. Chinmu frowned and turned his head toward Ling Yushu. "He's a pitiful person with no mother?" Ling Yushu also jumped in shock, then immediately grabbed his hand and pulled him toward River Suppression Floor as she smiled. "I'm hungry. Let's go eat something good. I'm a guest here too, so I can't trouble everyone too much." Zhongling Yushu, meaning elegant and graceful. In pinyin, Zhongling Yushu, which was why Ling Yushu wonder how did Chinmu know her surname was Ling. Translator Ninetails, editor Fish Creek. Clasping the maiden's hand, Chinmu could feel how soft and slick her palm was, and his heart involuntarily trembled for an instant. Yet Fu Tingyue's cruelty still made him feel incomparably ill at ease. He turned his head to look back at the level platform upon the lake. Fu Tingyue did not stop even after severing all 10 fingers of his opponent. Rather, he went on to carve at the wrist, growing ever more exhilarated, fiercer than a wild beast gone mad. This is a lunatic. Yet thinking on it, this young master Fu Tingyue seems to have some ties with me. Chinmu ruminated silently. Back then, when Granny Sai had picked him up by the riverside, she feared he would die young. Thus, she slipped into Border Dragon City and abducted the City Lord's mistress who had just given birth. After turning her into a milk cow to nurse him, she helped him survive that premature death calamity. The child that the City Lord's mistress had given birth to was most likely Fu Tingyue. Chinmu had grown up drinking his mother's milk. This was where their connection lay. Chinmu turned his head again. There was already no road of survival left for the youth upon the flat stage. For 100 dragon coins, he had entered the City Lord's manor to fight in the arena. Naturally, he had some ability if he dared come at all, yet he had never expected to lose his life here. River Suppression Floor celebrated with song and dance as Chinmu followed Ling Yushu inside. He saw dancers within the hall. When their fingers skimmed through the air, crisp tinkling notes rang out. It was the sound of their vital chi. Each lift of the head, each stamp of the foot, all kept pace with the music's rhythm. Chinmu clicked his tongue in amazement at how those dancers could move with such grace while using vital chi to weave beautiful music. On either side of the hall were countless small tables where many extraordinary folk were seated for the banquet, drinking and making merry. Some delighted in the song and dance, while others watched the lake platform, savoring the fight. The scene upon the flat stage was miserable beyond words. The Copper Muscles Iron Bones youth had been tormented until he was no longer recognizable, yet not a single person in the hall stopped the one tormenting him. Ling Yushu dragged Chin-Mu straight to one of the small tables and sat down as though it were only natural, showing not the slightest regard for being an outsider. Seated within, River Suppression Floor held powerful practitioners from all corners of the world, each extraordinarily formidable. The sight of the two youths startled them, yet none opened their mouths to inquire. In their minds, this jade couple must be disciples of some expert. Seizing the chance to come to River Suppression Floor, join in the excitement, and broaden their horizons. Upon the small table were priceless rare fruits and delicacies. There were even invaluable strange beasts cooked in lavish fashion, fresh and tender, so tempting that Chin-Mu's fingers began to twitch uncontrollably. Since morning, Granny C had dragged him about selling livestock and goods, and he had not eaten a bite. He had long since been famished. Chin-Mu sampled the food before him, and his eyes brightened. He felt as though even his tongue would melt from the deliciousness, and he could no longer tear his attention from the delicacies. On the other hand, Ling Yukshu, who claimed she was hungry, only took 2 mouthfuls, set down her chopsticks, and then watched Chin-Mu gorge himself with great interest. At the small table beside Chin-Mu sat the cult mistress whose beauty stirred the entire city. She, too, regarded Chin-Mu and the young girl by his side with an intrigued gaze. Is she Granny C or not? Chin-Mu thought to himself. Besides her, there was yet another person who glanced toward Chin-Mu from time to time. Chin-Mu sensed that gaze and lifted his head to look, becoming slightly stunned. That person wore armor and did not remove it even at a banquet. It was the young General Qin Feiyue, whom he had met twice by chance on Surging River. Qin Feiyue is also here? He didn't return to Eternal Peace Empire? Chin-Mu was astonished, yet he continued attacking the food before him. Ling Yushu snickered. That little general keeps looking at you. Does he know you? Chin-Mu swallowed his food, pondered briefly, then replied, We had the affinity to meet twice. There was also a chubby, fatty 7th young master beside him. However, I don't know where he went. Ling Yushu grew angry and pinched him on the arm. Chin-Mu didn't understand what the maiden was angry about, and thought to himself, This girl sure is weird. General Qin Feiyue is also pretty weird. When this girl pinched me, he stopped himself from almost jumping up. The one getting pinched is me and not him, so why is he feeling the pain? Just then, an elder spoke. City Lord, is that your son outside? What splendid skill! I've heard that young Master Tingyue is the strongest martial arts practitioner among the younger generation in Border Dragon City. Now that I've seen it today, he is indeed extraordinary. Fu Yundi smiled. You've praised him too much, Elder Baishan. My son has only learned some coarse techniques, merely making a fool of himself. Elder Baishan beamed and replied, That's not true. I've heard young Master Tingyue is the best of everyone within 300 miles. Just last year, young Master Tingyue fought 352 battles and killed all 352 practitioners who came from all over. Not a single person was able to escape his grasp. For him to have such battle prowess at this young age, he's surely impressive. Chin-Mu raised his brows and continued focusing on eating. Fu Yundi immediately smiled. My son has only killed the abandoned people of Great Ruins. If it were people from outside, my son would still show mercy. Elder Baishan smiled. The abandoned people do not lack strong practitioners. Young Master Tingyu's skills are indeed impressive. After speaking, he exclaimed in admiration. Fu Yundi chuckled. My son is an honest person and never forces others to compete with him. He only invites the abandoned people of Great Ruins to come forth and fight in the arena by promising them money. He can't help it that humans die for riches, just as birds die for food. The abandoned people came continuously to challenge my son, only to throw their lives away. These 100 dragon coins of my son have yet to be spent. Speaking of this, my son sure knows how to live his life. When he finished, he laughed loudly. Everyone in the hall also began laughing along with him. At that moment, a black-faced elder abruptly stopped smiling and, over the laughter, spoke with a booming voice. Cult mistress, after studying great educational heavenly devil scriptures for so many years, I'm sure you will open our eyes today, right? The slender black-faced elder before Chinmu looked haggard. His eyes were lifeless, and he sat there like burnt charcoal, yet his voice was astonishingly loud. The moment he finished, every gaze in the hall gathered upon the cult mistress, who brimmed with charm. Chinmu immediately set down his ivory chopsticks and closed his mouth. Still, he could not help secretly chewing the food within. After swallowing the food into his belly, the youth hesitated for a moment, yet he could not resist picking up the ivory chopsticks again, snatching another piece of lungfish meat, and quickly stuffing it into his mouth. The charcoal-like elder erupted in fury and glared at Chinmu. "Stop eating." The cult mistress beside Chinmu burst into laughter. So it was Venerable Hai. Why the need to be angry, Venerable Hai? The city lord invited us to eat, so why can't he eat? Am I right, city lord? Fu Yundi coughed and smiled. This distinguished gathering is also a banquet to let everyone here have a taste of the delicacies of my border dragon city. It's only natural to let the guests eat to their content. The cult mistress gave a gentle laugh, picked up a bright red fruit, and placed it into her mouth. She then leisurely cleaned her slender, lily-white hands, and with interest watched Chinmu gorge himself. Ling Yushu was also greatly astonished. She had never expected Chinmu to be able to keep eating after what had happened. Not long after, Chinmu was half full. He thought for a moment, then took out a piece of oil paper and his dry rations from within. He then picked up several tender, delicious foods and wrapped them carefully. Venerable Hai, like burnt charcoal, couldn't help chiding. "Little brat, you can't finish them and you still want to take them away?" Chinmu replied awkwardly. "My granny, Grandpa blind, and I only entered the city today. We only had dry rations on the way here and haven't eaten anything. The food here is very delicious, and since my granny and Grandpa blind's teeth aren't good, I want to bring some back for them." After speaking, he looked again at the cult mistress, suspicion rising in his heart. Is she Granny C or not? Wait a minute, this Rouge's scent, isn't it the same one I bought with Granny Sai? A gentle expression flickered through the cult mistress's eyes, as though she were moved, and she smiled. "You are a filial boy? I'm liking you more and more." Everyone in the hall looked on as though watching a joke, pitying Chinmu. Cult mistress was originally a famous demoness, and she was most irritated by mumbo-jumbos like filial piety. This little brat is going to die miserably. Venerable Hai waited until Chinmu finished packing the food, then said coldly, "Are you full?" Chinmu honestly replied, "Half full." Venerable Hai snorted in anger. That snort surged outward and rattled all 100 windows of River Suppression Floor. Chinmu was impressed and exclaimed in admiration, "Senior's cultivation sure is vigorous. I'm unable to do that." The veins on Venerable Hai's forehead twitched. He suppressed his rage and quietly waited for Chinmu to finish eating. The cult mistress, smiling throughout the entire farce, also set down her ivory chopsticks and stopped eating. Venerable Hai let out the murky breath he had been holding back in his lungs and said coldly, "Now everyone is full? Can we talk about business properly?" All eyes in the hall turned snow-bright, landing upon the cult mistress. With a single smile, the cult mistress could charm 100 beings. The eyes of everyone in the hall brightened further. "Venerable Hai, even if I give you the great educational heavenly devil scriptures, do you think you can leave Border Dragon Village alive? I'm afraid the city lord would be the first to take your life. Furthermore, I doubt the rest would allow you to walk out of ruins alive." Venerable Hai rose to his feet. The vital chi behind him turned pitch black, forming a fiendish four-armed heavenly devil behind his head. To drive vital chi to such a level, and even shape it into a devil god, this method was no weaker than Fu Yundi's eightfold heavenly god technique. Venerable Hai swept his gaze across everyone and said coldly, "If the Holy Bible of Heavenly Devil Cult lands in my hand, it will be mine. Whoever dares covet it, aren't you afraid you would be slain by me?" Everyone in the hall smiled, yet remained silent. The cult mistress snickered. "There are noble guests from Eternal Peace Empire and experts hiding within great ruins. How many can you exterminate? This young general must be from Eternal Peace Empire. Am I right?" The one she referred to was indeed Qin Feiwei. She smiled. I've long heard Imperial Preceptor is the number one man below gods, so his disciples shouldn't be ordinary either. Qin Feiwei bowed slightly. This little general is Qin Feiwei. My teacher is indeed Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. However, I'm not here for cult mistress, nor am I here for great educational heavenly devil scriptures. Cult mistress may be the most beautiful woman in the world, and great educational heavenly devil scriptures may be the path to becoming a god, but Imperial Preceptor doesn't care about that. His tone carried a natural arrogance. As the number one man below gods, Imperial Preceptor cared for no technique, even the devil cult's sacred book that could help one become a god. Suddenly, a voice sneered, "This is Great Ruins and not Eternal Peace Empire. Who cares what the Imperial Preceptor thinks?" Qin Feiwei released a murderous intent and looked toward the source of the voice. The speaker sat opposite him, a burly man with a curly beard. His shirt was half open as he sat with careless ease. He grabbed food to eat while using his other hand to rub the dirt on his belly. With only a few rubs, he rolled out a pitch-black ball and flicked it away at random. Qin Feiwei frowned, his face full of disgust. Uncivilized people of Great Ruins are simply uncouth. There's no need to get angry with him. When Imperial Preceptor's great army arrives, any demons or monsters will have to submit to him. He then glanced again at the girl beside Qin Mu, feeling as though he sat upon pins and needles. Why did Seventh Princess go mingle with the youth from disabled elderly village? Just now, the princess even pinched him and seemed too close to him. If word of this were to spread, where would the face of the imperial family go?